Sean came up with this great idea. We're going to do a top 10 of our favorite action movies, and I'm going to run down my list. I'm going to talk through about 10 of the greatest action movies of all time. And Sean's going to then agree, or he's going to super agree. And then he's going to just scratch his whole list because, there's no point. But
I already have my list. No matter what he says, I'm not changing my list.
The dog did not eat his homework this time, so we're gonna compare notes. And if some of ours, we might cross swords, we might cross the streams. It happens. But either way it goes, if my number 3 is your number 2, let's just keep going. Tell me what you think about it, and we'll just keep going from there. So I'm gonna start now from my number 10 is. And this list is probably it's not a concrete order, but my number 10 is The Crow. Brandon Lee's The Crow. I remember when I first saw this movie, I was in a movie theater with my little brother, and it was a creepy dude that was sitting a little too close, but still didn't take me out of the film. Ahead of its time because the animation to bring Brandon Lee's face into the movie, even though it was some scenes that he could not film, unfortunately, the technology was smooth. I mean, we're talking about the 90s, and it still to this day it fools the eye. It totally doesn't take me out. I can't even tell which scenes he did or did not film. To me, the whole movie was executed perfectly, and I'm kind of sad that he didn't make it to see the final result of it. Yeah. And number 9 is Independence Day. Will Smith and the one and only oh man, I'm losing his name already. Jeff Goldblum. Must Go Faster.
Must Go Faster.
The only time that you can actually get away with saying that a highly advanced interdimensional, interplanetary race can be defeated by a floppy disk. Independence Day also features the greatest extra of all time. After the president gave his speech, that still to this day holds up better than any speech any president's ever given in real life. That one extra, just that salute, man. It was just the thing that made the whole movie worthwhile. Number 8. It's not really an action movie, but it had a lot of action in it. It's a Disney film. It's The Lion King. Anybody who really knows me, everybody knows that I always come back to The Lion King. Everything in life can be explained by The Lion King, no matter what the situation is. Anything. The Lion King had a lot of intense moments. My favorite action scene is when I forgot the name of those animals that were running down the hill that ultimately killed Mufasa.
Wildebeest.
The wildebeest, when the wildebeest were on the move. And they killed Mufasa. That whole scene was epic, and the fight scene at the end with Scar, still to this day, it gets me roaring. It gets me out there yelling.
Long live the king.
My number 7 is The Long Kiss Goodnight. Samuel L. Jackson.
Motherfucking Jackson. Yeah.
Motherfucking Jackson. You cannot go wrong with this movie. I still watch this movie. I'm going to, you know what? After this, I'm going to go watch this movie. I didn't appreciate it when I first saw it. A little time goes by, a couple of months. I'm watching it over and over again. Now I can't get enough of it. Every scene to me, it holds me. I can't go 2 seconds. I can't pass the TV knowing that movie's playing and not just sit down. I have to watch it.
Gina Davis was hot in that movie.
Gina Davis still hot and was awesome in that movie. That my favorite scene with Gina Davis and Samuel L. Jackson was when Sam gives her the gun. He says, "Look, you got a loaded clip. All right, just point and spray. Next thing you know, grenade comes in. Fuck it, run for your life." That's Samuel L. Jackson. Number 6, Samuel L. Jackson Returns. Die Hard with a Vengeance. Bruce Willis. I don't know if was that the first time that they did a movie together. I think it was.
I'll have to look back. I think it is.
That one up. I'm gonna have to do a fact check on that one. But when I saw that movie, it was awesome. You could tell that these two had something. And there's a rumor that there's a script floating around, not written by not Shyamalan. He was given a script by another writer.
Are you talking about Unbreakable 2?
Unbreakable 2, and it's got Shyamalala. He's got him fired up. He's thinking about it. All right, now remember, no particular order. these top 10 is going to change probably tomorrow. Number 5, one of my favorite Star Wars, but not only Star Wars. You would think I would be talking about the original Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, or Return of the Jedi. No, my favorite Star Wars movie when it comes to action, The Revenge of the Sith. That's my favorite movie. When
That's like part
Star
6.
Wars action. Technically, episode 3, part 6 in the whole timeline. You had a pissed off Anakin Skywalker who was doing everything he could to save Padme, but doing everything to get her killed. Ridiculous. The fight scenes in there were awesome between Skywalker and his former master, his brother, almost his father figure, Obi-Wan Kenobi. To me, it was just some crazy fight scenes. I kind of
Chops his legs off.
And here, exactly. You know what? And here's my my what I would have done if George Lucas wasn't surrounded by so many yes men. If he wasn't the kind of guy that would have fired you for having an idea when he was in charge, I would have scrapped episode 1. Start episode 1 from the Clone Wars with Anakin already a pilot, already a grown man who already learning the ways of the Jedi or whatever, and then episode 2 would have been Revenge of the Sith. And then part 3 would have been him hunting down the rest of the Jedi. That's how I would have done it. But I'm awesome. It's already too late. We'll eventually get to those movies eventually with the Disney deal. Number 4, The Avengers. Greatest comic book movie of all time. In a lot of people's opinions, it goes back and forth with another one. But to me,
I know the other one you're thinking about.
Everybody knows it's always between these two.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this one, you have a comic book movie that was pretty much a comic book come to life. Perfect execution with this action movie. Action everywhere. They should have just called the Hulk from the beginning, and that thing would have been over in about 5 minutes. But hey, we have to make it happen. We have to make it we have to build up to the moment. I'm always angry. Number 3, The Matrix, starring Will Smith. Then he backed out. Then it stars Keanu Reeves. So it would have been a total different movie if Will Smith would have taken that role. It would have been interesting, but I'm glad Keanu took it, and it was a pretty good, well executed movie. Of course, we all know the fact that bullet time wasn't. It's still an argument whether or not Max Payne or The Matrix came up with bullet time. I know Max Payne coined the phrase, but when everybody does that slow motion, like
I know that Max Payne came out later, so I'd have to give it to The Matrix.
Debatable. So number 2, we're gonna go to Terminator 2, Judgment Day. That movie was almost just like the first one. The first one was more on a horror level. The second one wasn't on the horror level, but that dude was scary. I mean, but the action was everywhere. I mean, from the beginning to the end, from what I say, from the rooter to the tutor, it was just wall to wall action. You had Schwarzenegger, who was just kicking ass all over the place. I mean, he's being bossed around by a kid. I mean, who wouldn't want his own Terminator? You're walking around the streets, people are messing with you. You're like, you know what? Handle this guy. I can't believe it. And you have Schwarzenegger grabbing people by his hair and just tearing people up. I mean, why wouldn't you do it? I mean, you got one for Christmas. You opened the present. You took the time to put the batteries in. You might as well enjoy it. You got your own Terminator. So that was every kid's fantasy, if you ask me. It wasn't one of mine, but hey, I said that's a different video, what my fantasies are. Anyway, number 1, and I think Sean was hinting towards it when I was talking about the Avengers, and you know it, and you love it, of course, the Rainbow Bright movie. No, I'm just kidding. The Dark Knight. That's my number 1 pick. That's my top action movie of all time, even though it was more of almost like a comic book drama. But in the action, hey, I mean, the new Batman might might kill the Nolan trilogy when it comes to action.
I think it's going to have more action.
It's going to have way more action, but they had this to build on. They had Dark Batman Begins. They had the Dark Knight. They had the Dark Knight Rises to use as a foundation to say, you know what, we can do that and we can make it better. So if it wasn't for these movies, then the Batman that we're about to get, which looks awesome and action-packed like crazy, and they hired the guys from The Raid. Oh, and that's, you know what, that's here's a bonus coming. But The Dark Knight is my number 1 pick. I can watch that movie over and over again. I love all the fighting scenes when he goes to China, to Gotham. Everything in that movie was awesome. Christian Bale was one of our best Batmans. He's probably going to go down in history as the best of all time. I'm still going to wait to see what Ben Affleck does to see who who's going to take the title. But it's going to be pretty interesting. But you know what? I'm going to put a bonus one in there because you know what? I had this on my list and I forgot. I took it off because of all the delays and the technical difficulties. But The Raid, that should be on this list, and I'm mad at
A lot of
myself.
people probably haven't seen that too. You should check it out.
You know what? And if you haven't seen it, you're probably an American. I'm gonna put that on Talk Me Into It. So we're gonna talk about that sometime. The Raid and The Raid 2. I'm still trying to finish The Raid 2. And a lot of guys from The Raid, whether it's the choreographers, all the fighters and whatnot, are being hired for Batman versus Superman, the Star Wars movie. So we have a lot of thinking to do from the makers of The Raid for all the great action movies that we are about to get 2015, 2016. So I'm putting The Raid as my bonus. It should have been in here. I apologize. I took it off because I just forgot it at the last minute. So I humble myself before you. Let's keep talking, and I want to move on to Mr. Malloy. How many of these are from my list do you agree with? How many do you think just don't belong? And tell me what your thoughts are.
We've got a lot of similar tastes in movies, and actually I had several of them on my list that you had on your list. And I'll go ahead and knock those right off the bat because you've already discussed them, and you're pretty much right on cue with that. So right off the bat, and again, this is not an order of how much I like them, because it's hard for me to make up my mind. I'm just throwing 10 movies out there that are must-see classic 10 action movies. Of course, I had The Matrix. Everybody loves The Matrix. I can watch
Are we starting at number 10? Yeah. Is that?
Well, yeah. So I'm going to start with number 10. But again, this is not in order of how much I like them, but because I can't make up my mind about that, I'm too weird about that. So number 10, right off the bat, The Matrix, classic. Gotta love it. Also, T2. That was probably one of the most epic movie-going experiences of my entire childhood. I mean, I was just floored. I mean, like, I will never forget the time. I mean, we actually went to see it more than once, too. And it was absolutely incredible. I mean, you could probably count on your hand the number of times in your life that you've gone to the movies and you were just like, you wanted to go see it again right after it was over. You're like, let's watch that again. That was so cool.
I'm gonna go hide in the bathroom for like 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna come right back.
Back then, it was like, we wish we had this on VHS, at the house. So T2 in The Matrix, I totally agree. Thumbs up, absolutely. And I was surprised, but I remember we have discussed this before. The Crow, absolutely one of my favorite movies of all genres. And for those of you who have not seen it, this was one of those movies that, and one of the few movies in my childhood that I was probably 12, between 11 and 13 when it came out. I actually heard a lot about it before it came out because unfortunately the main actor, who happened to be Bruce Lee's son, was killed during the production of this, and I've never heard of anything like that before, and very rarely since, especially the main actor, and they still finished the movie, except for like Paul Walker and stuff. But he actually died on the movie set during a shooting of a scene, literally got shot. But also that movie, The Crow, that like the whole movie had like this just aura of badassness to it. Like the soundtrack was awesome, the settings were awesome. It did not give you a specific year that the movie took place in. You kind of had to guess because the cars, if you notice, were not new looking. They were kind of retro. They were hot rods and stuff, and even the cop cars, not new looking but not really old looking, and nobody ever said what year it was in the movie.
You know what? You're right, and you're right about the whole. I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna let you. The atmosphere of that movie was also a character of that movie. If you think about it, I mean, the everything around the city itself was all. It felt like a character itself. Like I wish it could have kept going with the same actor and the same team. It would have been awesome. But
his career was just like Heath Ledger. That was his break. It's too most unfortunate. God bless you. Hope you're doing okay. All right, so moving on. The next one I had, and I'm surprised this one didn't just come right to me. And this is another oldie but another goodie. The original Predator movie. That scene where they used it.
Why? Why? I did not think of it.
The original scene where they used that chain gun to cut down the forest, and they're like, if it bleeds, we can kill it. You know, they're just like, and they mow down all the trees. Carl Weathers, Arnold Schwarzenegger, we got a whole ring of badasses. We see Jesse Ventura chewing tobacco, spitting, saying he's sexy as a Tyrannosaurus.
You got governors everywhere.
They got governors.
The other thing that movie was missing was Rocky himself. I mean,
man, they could have put The Rock in that movie. I mean, we're talking one of the most testosterone-filled movies possible. I mean, that movie was a classic.
I need a flux capacitor. I need The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, to get into that thing, and I need him to go back to the '80s and join the team. Predator would have been 10 times more awesome.
Man. And that music, that soundtrack, you just hear it. That was badass. So the next one I had, again, I've talked about this, and some people might say this is not really an action movie, but the action in it is absolutely awesome. My boy James Cameron with a second one on this list with The Abyss. If you haven't checked out, I'm not going to spend too much time on this movie because it's a really long movie. It's very complex, but The Abyss. Watch The Abyss. Next one I had was my boy Mel Gibson, and he's on a couple of these that I have on here with the sequel to Mad Max, The Road Warrior. Awesome movie. Again, kind of hard to explain. It would sound kind of goofy if I tried to give you the plot to this movie, but the stunts, I don't know how they did some of that. Even now, like this movie came out, I think the year I was born, like 1981. I still don't know how they didn't injure people, and I'm sure they probably did kill people doing some of the stunts in this movie.
I think isn't it not true that the Road Warrior is actually Fast and Furious 23?
You know, I tell you what, if Fast and the Furious could get as good as the Road Warrior, I'll go watch the next one. I'll tell you that right now.
Challenge accepted. All right. You're on number 5 now, right?
Yeah. So next one on my list, and actually, you know what? I've got 3 on my list from James Cameron. Aliens 2. Bill Paxton, Michael Biehn. I mean, epic movie. Marines. It's game over, man. Game over. I love that movie.
Is that Aliens, right?
Yeah, Aliens. They just call it Aliens.
Game
over, man. It's game over. I love Bill Paxton. All the stuff that Bill Paxton does do. Next up on my list, and some people may argue with me about this, but I was on the edge of my seat the entire movie for this. The original Speed. That movie was awesome. We get to see Dennis Hopper being psychotic. And probably the second best Keanu Reeves movie. I mean, The Matrix, obviously, but Speed, second close one. All right. Still got you, Chris?
Yeah, we're still here.
All right. So, last one was Speed. Then we get to Die Hard 1 with Bruce Willis. That movie was epic. Epic movie. Nasty as hell, actually. You can watch the unrated version. That's a pretty gruesome movie, especially when he slices his feet all over the glass and stuff.
That movie gets so much respect from me because you had the action star barefoot, still kicking ass, and taking names.
Bruce peeling the glass out of the bottom of his feet.
Oh, it hurt. It hurt to watch. It hurt so bad. It was almost like I was watching Home Alone. I kept expecting Macaulay Culkin to come out, laughing his ass off.
That German guy at the end, he just came out of nowhere. He thought he was dead. He was hanging from the chains, and all of a sudden he pops up, and you get to see the guy from Family Guy waste him. He finally gets to kill somebody at the end.
I'm an actor. I'm a motherfucking actor.
Pain. All right. And so I come to, and I'm going to say I'm the last one on this list, but I'm also going to mention some honorable mentions as well because I just couldn't make up my damn mind.
Smurfs.
The sequel to Smurfs, no.
Right.
So, the original RoboCop.
I had it. I had it all. I took it off. I had it.
Ah, man. I was. And this is one of those movies that I was maybe 5, 6 years old when this movie came out. This is one of those so absolutely inappropriate for children movies that borderline parents should be divorced if they bring their kids to see this kind of stuff. I mean,
NC-17 originally, right?
Yeah, I think they had like an X rating or I mean, that movie was so Okay, so a couple things about this movie, and I'm going to talk about this movie because this movie, it came out in like 87, it was made in like 86, but the costume in this movie
yes,
still Stick. I mean, fuck Iron Man. No offense. It's still like Iron Man and all that, but RoboCop, the original RoboCop, compared to that, fuck Iron Man.
There's
All
your
right.
T-shirt, kids.
That's right. Fuck Iron Man. Put RoboCop
RoboCop.
on there.
Fuck Iron Man.
So we had a movie that was shot with, I think they had a total budget of like between $10 and $13 million, which back then that was considered like a B movie. And they dropped all that money into getting the right people and the right special effects. The tone of that movie, man, the tone of that movie, it was just something like, it's like if you had a spoiled kid who was horrifically behaved and cursed all the time, that would be something you could let them watch and it wouldn't be a big deal. But like that scene that they kill Murphy with the shotguns, they blow his arms and head off, and doesn't hurt. That is still,
hold on.
man, that's got to be, and we could go over this another day. We can do top most brutal killings in a movie. That'll make that list, man.
That's gonna happen. Yeah,
and I'm gonna have to let you borrow it, Chris, because I have a vintage, out-of-print Criterion Collection edition version of this movie that I had to pay $120 on eBay to get a copy of, where it's the full uncut X-rated version of the movie. Wow. So, honorable mentions. I had to throw this on the list, and it's not really an action movie, but it has enough action to qualify as an action movie. Full Metal Jacket is the shit. Another honorable mention, and actually this is kind of a two-part, but I couldn't make up my mind which one. Lethal Weapon 1 and Lethal Weapon 2.
No Jet Li?
Come
on, man. That's the last fighting scene. I mean, come on. When he looked at him and said, oh, son of a bitch is gonna be a handful.
Yeah.
that was the best line. It ain't worth it, man. Look, he just lost his brother. Look, I'm thinking we just let him go.
Yeah, I think that they could have, like, say for example, real quick, guys. I'm sorry, I don't mean to run off on a tangent. Let's say that they change the title of the third one and they change the names of the two main actors. Maybe even put Riggs and a different guy or a different name. Anyway, you can make a whole nother movie completely unrelated, in my opinion, to the series with the third one, because the story is so different. But the first two, it's like one long movie to me.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time throwing in the third. And the fourth one was just kind of like, we're reaching for money. But anyway.
You know what? If you give me some time, there's another topic right there. A movie that has a part one and a part two that works perfectly as a one long movie, like Superman 1 and 2. Also,
absolutely.
That same situation. Perfect one-two punch. We need to do a video about that.
Sure. All right. Lastly, and these are same guy, same production team. Oh, actually, two more things. I'm sorry. I had to throw Indiana Jones in there because I love Indiana Jones, but it's not really an action movie. It's more of an adventure movie. But Indiana Jones, and my personal favorite, Indiana Jones 3 with Sean Connery and The Last Crusade. That was my favorite one.
Hey, no ticket.
No ticket. He throws him out of the way. So lastly, and I couldn't. This is there are two different titles, but they're the same production team. And this is not a movie, so I'm sorry, guys. But I had to throw this in there because this shit is such badassness. All right, so we got two projects that are together. One, Band of Brothers. Two, The Pacific. And these are my boys, Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks. They produced this stuff. If you haven't seen this, it's like watching a $400 million action movie that's like 12 hours long. Absolutely badass. If you like Saving Private Ryan. And I actually tried to put Saving Private Ryan on this list, and then I felt compelled, and I actually scratched it back off only because it's got badass. It's probably, matter of fact, it's got some of the most realistic action shooting cinematography you will ever see. But it doesn't. I feel almost like disrespecting it by saying that's an action movie because that's not even like that's more like a docudrama.
I was just about to say it, almost like a documentary. How realistic all of those shoot. They're very opener. I mean, you had the bullets, everything, the sound, everything whizzing by you.
There's no music either. There's no music
in that opening scene.
No, there's no music in any of the shooting scenes.
Right. Okay.
Is that he felt it didn't give it any kind of. So it was a disservice to the scene, so they just said just film it like it's really happening with a gunfire. And,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But we all know though that the best song for any action movie, you know it and love it. I mean, come on, we all do. It's Spider-Man, Hero. Come on, nobody's with me.
Hero could save us.
I know. To me, that song was the best. I don't know. I keep going back to it.
What was that? Nickelback and Chad Kroeger, the one who
I
married
got a boy
Avril
crush.
Lavigne. Man, his wife is hot. Yeah.
I got a boy crush on Nickel. But I'm sorry, guys. I've ruined it. Just killed the whole. I just killed the whole mood.
Do you have any other honorable mentions off the top of your head? Now that I've said my spiel.
I came back to the Raid. That was
Raid 2 was good.
Raid 2. I'm about to finish it. What other action movies do I just can't get enough of? It's more of like you said, they're more adventure. Kill Bill was one of the ones.
Damn! I didn't even think about that. Yeah, Kill Bill. That's another one. If they had combined Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2, just one long ass movie.
Which originally it was.
Yeah.
Originally it was. And then the team where the production team was getting a little nervous, and then Quentin finally told him, "I'm going to split it into 2 movies."
But they're so different. I mean, it's like the first one is just like, whoa, and they're just chopping people left and right. Second one is character develop revenge.
Yeah. You got all these different Asian genres that are in one movie. You got Japanimation, you got wire fu, you got all of these things.
Wire fu.
In one movie. It's just crazy how Uma Thurman pulled that off. You know what? Let me talk a little bit about some females because we do have a lack of female action stars. I like Salt. I love Salt. I think Salt should have been sequel. There should have been a sequel to the movie Salt with Angelina Jolie. I really enjoyed that movie. A lot of people say I'm alone on this, but I'm going to mention it because it's a female. And I want to give the lady some love. I liked Colombiana. I don't know. I love that, but I'm not going to say love, but I liked it. I thought it.
What was her name? What was her name?
Zoe. The girl from the Avatar. You know.
Yeah.
From Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, Mora. But who else? What's a good female?
That lady's actually really hot.
Yes, she is. What's a good female action ass kicker out there right now?
Well, I'll say a name, but then I will back on it a little bit just because they made some hose dog movies lately.
All right.
But originally, I love this chick. I had a crush on this woman, Mila Jovovich, when she came out with The Fifth Element. Her and that little white strip thing with her orange hair. She was so hot in that movie.
Perfect action movie. You know what? I'm surprised I didn't think of that. I'm mad at myself. We got to do a top 20, a top 100 because Lilu to this day I still love. I'm glad that they're finally going forward with the last Resident Evil movie. Congratulations to Mila Jovovich for her new addition in her family. But yeah, we need. Where's that Fifth Element? Where's that Sixth Element?
Oh, yeah. I just had a brain fart. The Professional, Leon the Professional. I can't believe I didn't put that on my list, man.
The Professional with Padme, with a young Padme on there, right?
Yeah, that started her career.
The prequel to V for Vendetta. No.
And actually, and the reason I remember this was because Mila Jovovich was in a relationship with the director of that movie, Luc Besson, who actually directed The Fifth Element.
Everybody knows that. No, I didn't know that.
God,
you're so
stupid.
We do a lot of links in that. Oh man, what's? I feel like I'm leaving. You know, there's millions of them that I'm probably.
We need to do a top 100 because I can just pull them out.
We can go on to this forever. Top 100. We can do a top 10 with the comic book movies, the dramas, the top 10 indies. We can do. There's a lot to talk about.
Cody was concerned about this. I got a text message from Cody earlier because it was a group message, and I called him back to see who the number was, and I realized it was Cody. And I told him we were going to do a top 10 action, and then he started panicking a little bit. You could tell it in his voice. He's like, "Oh no!" I'm like, "It's gonna be awesome, man." And he's like, "Yeah, but there's like martial arts action, and there, you know," he just starts running off on these 20 different subcategories, and it's like just. He's
got like 10,000 Rolodexes in his head rolling at the same time. He's gonna break them all down in alphabetical order. I mean, the way I am with my pornography. I mean, the guy is a genius when it comes to categorizing his movies. You can't get over on Cody. So and that's my fault again for not getting him on this. He was supposed to be on this episode, but he couldn't wait for too long because I was having some technical difficulties. You know, that's what she said. And but. So we're gonna get him. He said he's gonna be on the next one. So we'll probably get him to do his top 10 actions, and then we'll move on to probably the next subject will probably be the next episode is gonna be an official talking to the movie.
Gotta do the weird science episode one of these days.
We're gonna have bras on our head. We're gonna go through the whole thing. We're gonna resurrect that movie. Me and Sean are gonna reenact that whole movie, plot by plot.
Put the box right next to the other box.
Yeah,
and like my head, and the bras.
And then here comes Cody with the slushy, being bullied by Robert Downey Jr. Tony Stark is still a dick. He was a dick in the '80s, and he's still a dick.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah. But no, Tony Stark, that boy, Robert Downey Jr., he's awesome, man. I'm surprised I didn't think of Iron Man. You know what? But that's, I didn't want to put too many comic book movies on my list. I wanted to make that a subject for another day. Top 10 comic book movies, top 10 probably cartoons. I'm surprised.
I put The Dark Knight on my list, and then I crossed it off because I felt, again, it was one of those movies like Saving Private Ryan. Like I was like, it's got action in it, but I don't really think it's an action movie. It's one of those few comic book movies that plays off. Like if you took the mask off of Batman and just made it a normal-looking dude with gadgets, it wouldn't be a comic book movie. I mean, I really agree with that.
You could have done that whole movie without Batman. You could have just had Commissioner Gordon, same villains going after a madman, and
crazy mafia hitman.
Exactly. If DC did not exist, if Joker was an original character made by Warner Brothers just for this movie, you called it The Dark Knight. You'd drop the K, had Commissioner Gordon as your star. Him going after this Joker that's infiltrated the mob. It's a great mafia movie.
They would even had to have. Batman wasn't the interesting part. I love Batman, but he was not the interesting part of the movie. It was the Joker.
Yeah, the Joker. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That wasn't Heath Ledger. That was the Joker. And no disrespect to Leto. We're gonna have different Jokers from here on out. There are gonna be multiple people that's probably gonna play the Joker. I'm excited about Leto, and my fears are kind of calm down. That trailer, it put myself at ease. I got I got a surprise coming up. I don't want to give it away, but I'm gonna do a little something for that trailer. It's gonna be on this segment, is on the talking through the trailers segment, but it's gonna be a little comedy based. But I don't want to give too much away because it's still kind of a thought.
Did you see Harley?
Loved. I'm gonna love that movie.
Did you see Harley?
I saw Harley. I don't want to have to go into another rant about how much I'm
Harley looks sexy in this movie. She's pretty.
That was the one thing that had to be right. We've seen the Joker before. We all know that, and they know that he's going to be compared to Ledger. Just like Ledger was booed and was like, no, he's not going to be better than Nicholson.
Yeah, and then everybody jumped on it.
Was specifically was created for the cartoon. Then she became so popular. Now she's beloved. Now you're doing her for the first time.
Yeah, I don't think there's been an on-screen live performance of Harley.
Has never been on screen live, and you pull that off, everything else in that movie is going to work. But
I hope they get the accent because you really didn't get to hear her talk much. But you always heard that Mr. J.
Got insurance, Mr. J.
Yeah, I hope they do that. I really do because it's not Harley to me if she doesn't sound like a raging Yankee.
Exactly. I hope we get to see her flashback a little bit when she was a doctor and she was interviewing and going into the dark side with the Joker. But I gotta let it go because I'm already at 14%. This laptop's about to die. But once again, I want to invite everybody. If you like what you saw, hit that like button. Let me know what you think. Let's keep talking. You got Sean Malloy. He's out here killing it and helping me out and making. I'm looking good by 10% more because Sean is already holding the other 90%. Because when I'm sitting next to Sean, I get a little bit of that little spill off. His success, his glamour, his whole, I don't know what you call it, his aura makes it all worthwhile. I wouldn't even be doing this if it wasn't for all the ideas that's always going in Sean's head. So it's awesome. I appreciate you helping me out. And let everybody know what's going to be going on with you in the future. What any ideas you got for the guys out there that's watching?
As always, I want everybody to just keep going to the movies and keep the business alive. No, I don't want this all going to streaming. We want you guys to go to the movies. Actually, go to the movies. Keep
Sean's single-handedly saving the industry. And one of these days, we're gonna go see. We gotta go see that Ant-Man. I'm thinking about going to see it tomorrow. But
I'm excited about that. Actually, I wasn't initially, but anyway, yeah. Let's go check it out. We'll watch it.
All right, guys. TalkingThroughTheMovies.com. It's still .blogspot.com, but it's official. It's out. TalkingThroughTheMovies.com. It's here. Thank you. You already see it. You're here. If you're watching this, thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button. Let us know what you think, and let's keep going to the movies, like my friend Sean says. And as I always say, let's keep talking. Thanks, guys.